the other thing that we promised you for this evening was self-defense. Now, before we get into the self-defense, we are going to talk a little bit about what brought that to my attention, which was CrossFit. So without further ado, I'd like to welcome Carlo Profico and Shonda Profico. You guys, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you. Thank you for having
So
us.
tell me, anytime. So tell me a little bit about CrossFit.
Well, CrossFit, it's actually interesting. The CrossFit and the self-defense that we're going to teach, that we're going to go over today, very closely related in that they're both fundamental and almost prehistoric.
Mm-hmm.
CrossFit is basically about moving your body in a functional manner, picking stuff up, moving it, putting it down. You don't need anything fancy. When we started our gym, we started kind of like a garage type gym, and we just slowly have grown, and we just want to work in the simplest fashion that we can, and to develop speed and strength and stamina in a fun environment, but which is really at the core of what CrossFit is about.
So talk us about the self-defense aspect of it now.
Well, so we have a CrossFit gym, but I also have 2 martial arts schools. So my background, I've been doing MMA for 18 years. For the last 8 years, we've been a part of Tony Blauer's BTS, Blauer Tactical Systems. We're on the PDR team, which is the civilian side. He has the military and law enforcement side, which is the SPEAR system, and then the PDR system is the civilian side. It's essentially the same program. The military side deals with different things that the law enforcement and military have to deal with: prisoner transfer, breaches, and weapons retention, and that kind of stuff. And PDR deals with what civilians have been put up with: carjackings and ATM muggings and home invasions and that kind of stuff. So one of the beauties about the system is that it's scenario based, like we had talked about earlier. So the scenario dictates. If the example I had given was, if you're getting carjacked and you're by yourself, get in the car. I don't have the car. If you're getting carjacked and your 2-year-old strapped in the back seat, you can't get out of the car.
Right.
So we always start with the scenario, and then we build from there. What are we going to do? What are our options? Coach Blauer always likes to say that as PDR coaches, we're options facilitators. That's what we do. We don't say that you have to do this in this situation. What we say is, these are the options. You got to make that call in the moment, and hopefully it's the best. You're going to do the best call that you can, based on what your training is.
Right, and in addition to the information that you're going to share with our audience tonight, just jumping ahead a little bit, because I think it's that important, you will give them information where they can follow up and get more information. Because as we were talking in the green room, the scenarios that you were laying out, I think they're very critical to be aware of. So I know that you're going to touch on that as we go forward. I just wanted to say that.
When we go to break, we're not going to go to break yet, but when we do go to break, we're going to show some footage I took from YouTube from that Tony Blauer segment. And one of the things I noticed that was really interesting is there were parts where they would show the move being taught and executed, but then they would show the victim or the person who was being attacked hit and jet.
Right.
So is that something you talk about also?
Yes. Well, like I said, it depends on what the scenario is. So we had spoken about the seminar that we're doing next weekend, and one of the scenarios that we're going to be doing is a carjacking / mugging. It's taking place in the trunk of your car or the back of your car, and what are your options? What are your options if you're by yourself? What are your options if your kids are in the car? And so that's the kind of thing. Like if you can just stun and run, then by all means. But if your kids are there, you can't leave them. You got to fight. And so the system in the SPEAR system or the PDR system, that's what it is. It's a system. It's not a martial art. It's actually, what Coach Blauer always likes to say, and what we promote, is that the system is a bridge to your next move. So if you have training, if you're a boxer or you're a jiu-jitsu guy or a karate guy or whatever, then the system kicks in and it bridges you to be able to get to a point where consciously and cognitively you can then use your tools. If you're a boxer, then you'll be able to slip and weave and whatever. But in that ambush moment, in that surprise moment, none of that happens. It doesn't matter if you're a boxer, it doesn't matter if you're special forces, it doesn't matter if you're a housewife. in the ambush moment, we all flinch.
Right.
And when we flinch, it's a very prehistoric, hardwired, genetically hardwired self-preservation system. Your hands come up to defend the command center, which is your brain, and you're going to turn and you're going to push away the danger. And what we do is the drills and the system is designed to bridge from that moment, which is going to save you from whatever surprise attack is going on, into something that you can use combatively. I have a background in MMA, so for me to transition into something martial arty, great. My wife doesn't, but she can still use the system, and then get to a point where we talked about this. Indignation becomes that how dare you attack me? How dare you threaten my children? Whatever it is, and then once you weather that ambush, now you fight. And you'd be surprised how easy it is to deter somebody from.
It's nice to know that some of the simple things that you don't think of that can just be brought to your attention can really make an impact.
Like what?
On an attack. Just the simple way of, he talks about one thing, how strong your hand is when your fist is open as opposed to being closed. He'll go through that with you so that you can see that firsthand. But that's really, it was one of those things where you're not going to go into a backflip and do all this kind of fighting stuff, but just knowing that this is stronger than this was crazy to me. I can defend somebody just by pushing them in a certain way.
One of the cool things, like I said, we've been involved for 8 years, and so Coach Blauer's been doing this research for over 20 years. He's had his system verified on 3 different continents by 3 or 4 different doctors. There's a lot of scientific research that goes into his system, and it's based on anatomy and physiology and behavior and cognition and all that kind of stuff. So it's not smoke and mirrors and magic,
right?
Which is the cool part. Yeah.
Can you talk a little bit more about that aspect of it? Because a lot of our viewers are people who are not necessarily, me. A lot of our viewers are me. I can do step aerobics for 30 minutes and that's it. Or not even. So can you talk a little bit about the everyday person that could get benefit from this?
Yeah. When I went to my first seminar, I knew nothing, and even still, he's the more knowledgeable one than I am. But just being there and knowing, I was telling Mike, your elbow, you would never think your elbow was so hard, and they do a drill where it's just, like a short strike with your elbow, and, you're with your partner, and she hits you with your elbow, and you're like, ow, geez, that's your elbow. If you really put force into that and had to use that, you'd ever, but for me, I don't fight, I don't know anything about defending myself when it comes to that, but just knowing that little movements like that can really save you,
right?
And knowing that you can access that.
Yeah, and it seems like, as you were saying about the study and work research that went into the system, I think that is key as well, because the average person, as you said, wouldn't think that certain things were harder or stronger, because they're the misconception,
right?
And it doesn't. You don't necessarily have to be a weightlifter or mixed martial artist with 18 years.
Right.
They've done the work for us.
Yes.
At home they've done the work for you.
Yeah.
Well, what's cool to watch is, like I said, the flinch is hardwired, and
right.
And you can watch, a 1.5-year-old who's walking for the first time, and watch them fall, and watch what happens to their hands.
Boom.
They go out.
Quick.
They didn't get taught that. They didn't say, when you fall down, put your hands out.
Right.
But it's hardwired into us.
Right.
And so that's the beauty of the system. The main thesis of the Spear system is, what does your body want to do prior to any training, and does that have a combative application? And then we move on from there.
Right.
Okay. Now, when we go to break, we're going to show the clip that has the information about how people can get in touch with you to join. But can you talk about that? The address, date, time.
For the seminar?
For the seminar.
It's coming up on Saturday, December 13th. It'll be from 11:30 a.m. to 2 p.m. up in our CrossFit location, which is in West Berlin, New Jersey. That's at 154 Cooper Road in West Berlin.
If you have, go ahead.
I was going to say, if you want to call, you can call the box of the gym, 856-809-6134, or you can email me at CrossFitFurion, which is Furion @gmail.com.
Okay. Well, you guys at home, you don't want to miss this because we are going to go to a break. I'm going to ask Abin to play the second half of the Naya tape, which is self-defense. And when we come back, I'm going to kick off these heels and we're going to learn some self-defense. So clear your coffee table out of the way because this is for you at home also. We'll be right back.